tape, listen to the rules, and fail every test. Retcons galore. Can Chris Rock save the Saw franchise, or will the franchise need to cut off its own foot with a hacksaw? Welcome to the Mostly Pod Out at Night. Mostly, I'm Graveyard, joined by my co-host Salem.
Hello.
This is episode 66 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. Join us as we enter the final test and see how many limbs we have left. And spoilers ahead for Saw X. That's right. We are seeing the light at the end of this tunnel of only the first half of October of the Saw franchise. It's been long, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, at least I had the ones that are arguably the worst ones I had not seen before, so at least I didn't have to suffer through them a second time. That's okay. So this one didn't feel as bad as some of the other ones.
Yes. So we'll be discussing tonight Spiral from the Book of Saw, which came out in 2021.
Was it? Yeah, it sounds right. I think it was during the pandemic at the beginning, I believe.
Correct. Very much in the fuck the police mindset, I would say.
I guess so.
Yeah. And then, once again, Saw X, which is, we'll say it now, Saw 1.5, because it really is. So let's dig into this, shall we? We'll do our normal thing. We're going to recap. We put in quotes, plot. Then highlight the traps, and then go into our stuff. And we're still sticking, hopefully for the very last time, tetanus shots out of 10.
Huh.
But we know how horror movies go. It won't be the last. Once they go to space, it'll be the last. When it gets,
well, they already had the final chapter.
Right. Yeah, so usually the final chapter happens well before number 7. All right, so essentially, I don't know, we can call the A plot the main storyline, and the B plot the flashbacks to Chris Rock's character. Would you agree with that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, this one doesn't follow the quite the same pattern as the other Saw movies with this very clear 2 different plot lines, but yeah, that's fair enough.
So essentially, we get introduced to Chris Rock character who can't emote his way out of a wet paper bag.
Well, that's the thing with Chris Rock. Chris Rock is he's a great comedian, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's very funny, very great showman, all that kind of stuff. When he's an actor, if he's doing like comedy, he's great.
Yes.
He's great at just about everything I've seen him in. It just when it goes into like high drama, it gets a little rough.
Right. Essentially, I was waiting for the punchline every time he talked. He's like, "There is no sex in the champagne." Right. That's how he delivers every line, like it's leading up to a punchline.
I think that's just how he talks. Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. We'll just go over the B background story plot of he ratted out a cop that clearly shot someone unarmed.
Yeah, and rightfully so. He murdered a witness. That saw another cop kill someone, and so that cop then shot him. And then, dropped a gun next to him and say he pulled a gun. And I think it was like one of the best
witness
lines.
Pulled a gun?
Yeah, he's like, he pulled a gun, I had to put him down. And he's like, the witness pulled a gun on you? And like, rightfully, like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then, of course, he reported him, and that guy actually did get busted and go to jail. But
yes.
Apparently at that time, the cops were running wild and just doing whatever the hell they wanted to do.
Yes, so essentially, the good old they are the South Metropolitan Police Station,
right? Yeah,
versus
South Metro of unnamed city that Saw takes place in. Well, I mean, yeah, but
we're just sticking with Detroit. We're gonna start that campaign that Saw's Detroit. We'll get that going. So essentially, he becomes a pariah because he snitched on a fellow cop. Once again, rightfully so. And so essentially what's happening is he's the MO's changed for the Jigsaw or the Jigsaw copycat is they're like, for the first time, he's going after police, which is complete other bullshit.
Right. Like that. Okay. Yeah. Spoiler alert. That's one of my low points where he specifically says John Kramer didn't go after cops. And I was like, whoa. I think like half of his victims were police officers that he went after on purpose. Like,
right.
He obviously did not read the case file.
Right. And Detective Hoffman, 80% of his victims were cops.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, they would have known all this, but yeah, it's like, I was like, wait, what? I had to pause it. I was like, what did he say? John Kramer didn't target cops. Like, he almost exclusively targeted cops. It was like half of the people he killed.
Yes. I had to point that out too. So I'm like, I paused it as well. I go, what the hell? Like, this is flat out wrong. But okay. Right. So essentially, the people in the games this time are corrupt cops that dealt with, we assume to be Chris Rock's character, Zeke, or Z, his past, and people that have been caught by doing this. And we get more of a, how do you want, the Zodiac Killer teasing of the police. Like, he is sending parts of people to the police station.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it follows a pattern as to where, like, they're, investigating. A package comes to the police station, which is like a bloody body part with a badge.
Right.
Which then they have to look up the badge number. Oh, what cop is it? Oh, no, it's this cop. Then they go to like, then they get a video in the package too. They watch the video and then they go, we know this clue. This is this location. They go to that location. They find another package. Yes. That package has more bloody pieces in it and then leads them to where the body is.
Yes.
And then they go and they find the body and they're like, oh no, they've been killed.
Right.
And then just repeat.
Yeah, that's the plot line. And for being a copycat of Jigsaw, he picks a marionette puppet that's a pig that's also dressed as a cop.
Correct.
And the voice modulator of an online gamer doesn't want to reveal their real voice or face to the top.
Okay.
It's the highest pitched voice you could like really do in comparison to Jigsaw.
Highest pitch and like low, like highly monotone. Like there's no. Well, anyway, we'll get into that. That's one of the things I want to talk about. But yeah,
but that's the essential plot of the background.
Well, there's a little bit of a twist where, as it goes on, he starts realizing that all the police that are being killed, like you said, are the corrupt cops, right?
Right.
And there's kind of a subplot going on that it may be his dad, who his dad was the old chief of police,
yes,
played by Samuel L. Jackson. And he was kind of the guy who was like, made all the, running wild stuff happen. Like it was under his watch that all that shit went down. Right. So it's kind of like a subplot of he is doing this for what reason we don't know. But it looks like it's all like kind of directly related to him and he can't get a hold of his dad. So he thinks it may be like, him. And then at the end of it, well, I don't know if you want to go over the whole twist part yet.
Yeah, I'll go into that. So yeah, that the twist will wrap up A and B. A is, he gets Zeke gets a new detective, who's green around the gills, right, and showing the ropes, and they're investigating these scenes together, and you get to learn a little bit more of, I don't remember his fucking name, his partner. It's like, oh yeah, we have to go to visit, the first cop that died because we are friends, and he actually played with my kids and all this stuff. He teaches him, like, okay, you're a cop. I think he said 600 Tuesdays isn't worth 3 Saturdays. Being married to a lead detective doesn't last. Cops have the highest suicide rate, divorce rate, drug use, all that stuff.
Domestic violence.
Yeah, domestic violence. And he's telling him, like, hey, you're married with a kid. don't expect this to last. He's very, very jaded.
Well, he's also making the point of like bad things happen on holidays and weekends. Right. Like that's when they're most likely to happen. So as a detective, you're more likely to be working during those times.
Yes.
That's why he says, yeah, I'm home Tuesday a lot because not a lot is happening on Tuesday. But again, they want to do stuff on Saturday.
Right.
And he's always working on Saturday because that's when a lot of the murders happen.
Yes. So he's kind of we're going back and forth with that, tell him what to do. We learn, get some backstory about Samuel L. Jackson's character, that he's very tight with the new chief of police. And the other detectives are reluctantly working with Zeke on this case. It's like, oh, it's not your case. This is bullshit. They're handing me stuff in the mail.
Well, they gave him a case which was what they thought was a bum that got hit by a train.
Right.
So they're like, here, take this crappy case that nobody else wants, which is a bum get hit by a train. And it turns out that it was one of the police that he knew that was purposely killed by a train getting hit. And so then she tried, she tried taking the case away from him and giving it to the other cops. And he like threw a fit, took her aside and was like, no, you gave me this case. You thought it was shit. It turned out not to be. It's still my case. I should still do it.
Yeah, because I think what they thought was homeless man was married with a Fitbit. And they also go, why is a TV down here?
Right.
It took Chris Rock's character to come down there with like the other cops knows the TV. Anyway, so he's going through all this stuff. Partially through the film, we get a piece of an arm that's under the skin and it has Charlie tattooed on it, and his partner is not answering his phone. Well, he had Charlie tattooed on his arm for his son, and now they think, oh shit, he's dead. So eventually it leads to...
Well, they find a body, and the body's been completely skinned.
Yes.
So, yeah, they assume it's him.
Yeah. So, yeah, eventually he follows all the clues to where it all started, because he also gets, like, a model paint from a picture of where him and his dad took a picture of where they used to go when he was a kid. So he eventually gets there, finds his dad in a trap, and finds out, plot twist, it's his new partner all along. And he's trying to recruit him into his world of pseudo Jigsaw, saying, hey, you like to take down corrupt cops as well. Join me, because that witness that was killed was my father. I've been waiting 15 years to do this. You know how hard it was for me to get onto the force and to be your partner? And so he's trying to recruit him and put him through his own test of saving corrupt cops in the process, including his own father. He's like, there's only one bullet left in the gun. You shoot this target, your dad gets free. You shoot me, your dad doesn't get out. And eventually at the trap, he thinks he solved it. Cops come in. His dad gets killed in the process. Like I said, we'll talk to Trap shortly. And the guy escapes, essentially, leaving yet another disciple in the wind after this movie.
Well, yeah, but this one's not an apprentice. This is just a disciple.
Right.
Well, so, as far as we know, they might reconnect them again. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, at this point in the time, they're just leaving all the doors open they possibly can. We got 50 doors open. Who wants to come back?
And then they come back and do a sequel that ignores all of it.
Yes.
It's bizarre.
He really did have a kid all along now. So yeah, he's, that's end of movie essentially, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like plays out a little bit like true crime noir, like, I'd say Seven a little bit, but in the Saw universe. So I know we'll discuss probably your low point, as we discussed offline, what that is, the Hellraiser syndrome.
Right.
But the traps. So the first one is the detective that has to rip out his own tongue that's tied to a vice to set himself free.
Right. So it's like he's got to clamp down on his tongue, and essentially he would have to like let go, put all of his weight on his tongue which would then rip it out of his mouth, and then he would be free, but he wouldn't be able to talk anymore because apparently he lied on the witness stand a lot.
Right. So he's getting his tongue ripped out. Right. He does not survive.
No, because he eventually does like let go, but right before the train gets there and it hits him anyway.
Right. He falls into the train.
Right.
And I would say, I'll point this out now. The time frames are a little bit longer in this one. The next one, they're definitely longer than the 60 seconds. I think they realize 60 seconds is not enough time for anyone to coherently.
It's not. 60 seconds is like, you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then you're dead. I mean, it's like literally that fast.
Right.
It's like 60. There's no way in hell anybody could do any of this shit in 60 seconds.
Right. Another trap is a detective that... What did he do to his finger? What was it about his fingers? He things?
No, he stole stuff.
Okay. So he had sticky fingers.
Right.
So water was filling up essentially tub he was in that once it hits the electrical current, he'd be electrocuted. And all he has to do is he had to push down on the clamp with his mouth, and all his fingers were attached to like carbon fiber netting that would rip them off.
Right.
And he essentially gets, I think, 8 of his fingers off, except his thumbs.
Okay, like this is the thing I've noticed in like these last few movies here. I'll probably get into this more later, but like, what the hell is up with these traps? Like, they force these people to go 95% of the way in every trap, and then they fucking kill them anyway.
Yes.
Every single goddamn trap is the same. Like, they're like tortured. They finally get out and they die the second that they do. It's like ridiculous.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. So anyway, I think the next trap is the chief of police that happens at the police station nonetheless, and she's gonna get if she didn't do what did she have to do? I mean, she was getting like waterboarded with wax.
Yeah, she was getting waterboarded with wax, and there was a blade under her neck. And
she had to sever her spinal cord.
Right, she had to push down with her head on this blade, and the pressure would then shut off the wax, but it would then sever her spinal cord.
Yes.
Like,
because she has no spine.
Okay, I guess, but like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what is that all about?
Yes. She doesn't survive.
No, she does not.
Next we get the trap. We don't know the trap that his partner was put in. Right? We just know he was skinned alive.
Well, yeah, but that wasn't a trap. He was supposed to think it was a trap, but it wasn't.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, he gets knocked unconscious, and he wakes up handcuffed to a pipe with a hacksaw. I'm like, okay, clearly someone didn't do the work. It should have been the leg.
Well, yeah, obviously they didn't do any work at all because he immediately got out of it.
Right. And, nothing is not where it's supposed to be in any of Jigsaw's traps or in his disciples' traps. There's never something that's not supposed to be there. But he happens to find a bobby pin and is able to uncuff himself.
Well, I think he was supposed to.
Right. So eventually he finds the cop that he had ratted out, who was a born-again Christian, went through AA and was in, prison for 9 years.
And was still an asshole.
Still an asshole. And essentially glass was being broken and fired at him from the back.
Yeah, it was like a wood chipper, but only with glass.
Yes. And I'm going to say this right now, he was given the easiest hint of all, the keys, and don't throw the key in the trash, essentially, right?
Well, he's saying don't throw it all away or something like that.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, there's a garbage can here. Hey, look, the key's there. And he eventually does undo the locks, but he's dead. And Chris Rock is glass shrapnel in him is too, and he's only concerned about the one in his arm. His face, fine.
Yeah, the one sticking out of his head. Oh, who gives a shit?
Right. And that's where they meet it, and they see his dad, who's being bled out from 4 containers?
I think it was like 6.
Something like that. But he's like, the human body has a gallon and a half. I'm like, well, I don't think you ever hear a gallon and a half.
Yeah, no, they always count it in pints.
Right. You don't measure blood by gallons.
Right.
If you do, something's wrong.
Right, then you're probably like an effects guy for a horror movie.
Right. And he's like, he's only got 90 seconds till he bleeds out and dies. Like the mason jars are pretty full.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure he's dead already.
Yeah. So he eventually shoots the target to free him and starts to then beat the crap out of his old partner. And the cops show up, cut through the door that he, put in a metal chain, and they cut through it and then strings his dad up like a marionette puppet. We get the call back to the pig marionette puppet. And then he has a gun that just attached like Assassin's Creed style.
Right, that no one saw. It was like a fucking shotgun. It was huge.
Yes.
No one saw this thing strapped to his arm.
He didn't say anything. He didn't do anything. And then he's clearly strung up in the air and pointing a shotgun. What do the cops do? They just go Halloween 4 on his ass like he's Michael Myers and just unloads on him. Killing him.
I mean, that's standard protocol, I believe.
Yeah. So, I believe that's all the traps.
Yep.
There were no survivors.
No, it was not.
So no one's joining the...
Well, except for the guy that faked his own death.
Right. But no one's going to this Jigsaw support group from this movie either.
No.
Highlights. I'll go run my highlights. Right. I mean, overall, it seemed different in a way. It seemed more city focused than I'd say all the past Saw movies. Like it felt like an inner city, like Predator 2 Heat Wave style. Like everyone's just sweaty all the time and just dripping. It just seemed, even though the traps weren't like rusty, really, they're pretty clean traps.
Well, yeah, this is the future, man.
Yeah. So everything seemed more modern and sleek. And I do like that. And like I said, it felt like a couple homages to movies. Like I said, to me, it felt homage to Predator 2 in a way, just the sweatiness of, the South Metro Police.
Well, I think it was the sweatiness and how like the police station was like very high energy. I think were the two things that.
Yeah. So that's what, and I thought it did well. Like it didn't seem out of place. And once again, you didn't necessarily feel bad for the victims per se, right?
Right.
Like they're shitty cops, they're shitty people. Okay, I can see why they're here. And I do like the fact that he was trying to, help get rid of the corrupt police that killed his dad, but you don't take the person you're trying to convert's father.
Well, okay. Well, all right. Well, I'll say one thing now.
Yeah.
The guy who killed his dad went to jail.
Yes.
Came out of jail and is no longer a cop.
Yes.
So why would he have to become a cop to punish the guy who killed his dad?
He wouldn't.
I was very confused. Like, I understand, like, you're trying to fight that system, but the way he was talking about it is like he had to become his partner. He had to do all this kind of thing to get to the guy who killed his father, which is not true.
Considering, he was in prison for 9 of those 15 years.
Which is, again, it's like he just started on the force and yet he already knows everything about everybody. I don't think he needed to be a cop at all.
No.
I don't understand why he purposely says, like, I needed to become a cop so that I could get access to these people. I don't think you did. I'm pretty sure you had all the information you needed without being a cop. But
also, there's enough dirty cops on the force that would have given you the information for money.
Right. I'm sure. Sorry, continue.
It's all right. Those are my highlights. What are your highlights? I don't have many highlights for this movie.
Yeah, no, just a couple. One, I did like how there was actually like some kind of, well, at least in the beginning, there was some kind of like poetic justice for the traps, right?
Yeah.
How it's like, oh, the guy that talks and lies too much gets his tongue taken out, right? The guy who's stealing stuff gets his fingers ripped off. You know what I mean? Like it was like, poetic justice for those things. I mean, again, it kind of fell out towards the end, but like, I get, at least they tried. At least they tried to do that, and I appreciated that. The mystery itself, like who was doing it, what was going on, was fun. It was decently done. Like, I didn't call it right away. I mean, it's you're very clearly kind of led to believe that the partner is dead because it's like his tattooed skin, which they show a flashback to show that exact same tattoo on him.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's okay. Like, there's no way two people have the same tattoo, right? I mean, we're obviously, fooled in that. But, again, it was, the mystery was good. It kept you guessing until the end, which is nice. And like I said, the twist of, him being the kid and, just trying to get justice on the cops was also fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that you called right away. I mean, obviously they didn't show a kid in the flashback the first time, so there's no way you could have guessed that. But it was decent enough. It was fun. I liked it. Low points. You want me to go to low points, or you want to
go into those low points?
Okay, number one. How are you going to call this a Saw movie where you don't even have Tobin Bell in it at all? You don't even have his voice. You don't even have the puppet.
Correct. You don't have the pig mask.
Pig mask is it. That's it. That's all you have.
Yeah.
That's literally the pig mask. Like, how do you not have his voice at the very least? You know what I mean? Like, you could have just had him record the voice stuff, give him his money, for being part of the Saw franchise, and that's it. You didn't need to have him act in anything. It was like the only Tobin Bell stuff there at all was like some still photos they showed in like the evidence room.
And I would agree to that, considering he should have access to it because the freaking coroner had access to John Kramer voice recordings from the police station.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So it just did not make any sense at all. Two, not only did they not have Tobin Bell's voice, but the voice that they did have sucked.
Yes.
It was like this generic robot voice with like no intonation, no like emotion at all. It was just very, very boring, very, very flat. Like, the interesting thing about the tapes before is you had Tobin Bell, and he was trying to be monotone there at all, but it was also very ominous. You know what I mean? Like, he would also stress certain words and make it seem, again, evil, bad, whatever. He was doing his job as an actor. He's been in the franchise for long enough. He knows how to do it. And again, these tapes are just bad. Like, they're just inexcusably bad. I don't know why they wouldn't just bring Tobin Bell in to do the voice. I'm sure he would have loved that money to just record some voice stuff. Okay, so I did say the highlight was, the first three of those traps, the poetic justice, they had their chance, they failed, blah, 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 whatever. And then, the last couple, the choices were removed again. It's like we started off with the, choice. Everybody has a chance to live, that Jigsaw always says. And then the last two of them, like, nope, no choice. You're just dead.
Right.
Like, the choice is made for you. The choice is made by other people who have to make a choice. There's nothing you can do. You have no thing at all. We already talked about John Kramer didn't kill cops, which is completely false. And I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, but also, I will also say that, we were talking about earlier, this has Hellraiser disease, where I'm about 95% positive that this script was not a Saw script.
Mm-hmm.
This script was just a kind of 7-ish movie about corrupt cops getting killed and they were trying to discover who was doing.
Right.
Again, the trap part of it, I don't think was Saw related at all. I believe that was added on later, which is why I think, it was probably a last minute thing, which is why Tobin Bell did not get involved.
Probably. Yeah.
And again, they had to do this robot voice with just that, again, but I don't know why you would bring Saw into it and not bring like the iconic Saw things. It doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah. Like they should have done that considering, in the Scream franchise, it's never the same person, but they still use the same voice.
Right. That's what I was saying. Like, it's so easy to bring that, but that guy that does the voice, he still gets paid for those.
Right.
Right? Like, it's his franchise. He should still be paid for it. It would be nothing against this plot at all to have the stupid fucking puppet, but I don't like the puppet to begin with, but to have the puppet in the video instead of the stupid pig mask.
Yep.
And then to have Tobin Bell just do the tapes.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, it would have taken nothing away from the movie, and it would have kept it way more faithful than it did.
Yes.
And it's like, in this point, I mean, literally, the only thing that kept it faithful was, I guess, the traps, and then the pig mask. That's it.
Well, like I said, even the traps, though, they weren't the rusty tetanus shot giving thing. Really? Well,
I mean, but they were still at least traps.
Yes. Is all your low points?
Yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
All right. I'm gonna disagree with you on your highlight of not knowing it's the partner, because this is the 9th movie of Saw franchise. If you do not see someone die on screen, they're alive. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They deliberately fooled you.
Yeah.
What are the odds of someone having a tattoo? It's exact same.
Right.
It's astronomical. And they were like, oh, well, I tattooed this homeless guy and then skinned him. Like, okay, the tattoo would be very obviously new. Like, if you've ever seen a new tattoo, which I know you have.
Oh, yeah.
It does not look like it's very obviously a new tattoo. The skin is bleeding, beat up. It looks like, meat, like ground beef, like kind of underneath it. Like, it looks like it's been used and abused. And if it doesn't look like that, then it's a tattoo that's been there for a bit.
Oh, yeah.
And it looked like a tattoo that was been there for a bit. So it was deliberately fooling.
Yes. I mean, new tattoos look like they're the rub-on tattoos, like the first day or two.
Right, exactly. But they're bleeding and they're pussing. You know what I mean? Like, they're very obviously a new tattoo. And like, if he just tattooed the guy before he skinned him, it would not look like that.
No.
So again, anyone that's been around tattoos in any way would be like, okay, that's that guy's skin, because there's no way that could be a new one. I think we were deliberately lied to.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you. The puppet, the voice, atrocious. I feel like they squander the ability to move past the Saw franchise, and we'll see that they clearly couldn't with Saw X, right? They tried something new. They thought they were going to take it in this new direction. This is essentially the New Blood Friday the 13th Part 5, where it's not Jason Voorhees, or it's Halloween 3 for a lot of people, or it's not Michael Myers.
Yeah, I think they like panicked from Spiral and went in the complete opposite direction for Saw X, which we will be discussing in a moment here.
Yes. And yeah, it's like I said, it wouldn't be very hard to have gotten Tobin Bell's voice. He had all access as a cop to it, and once again, we'll discuss it in Saw X. Okay, he became detective. He went through all this work, but now he knows engineering and electrical mechanics, and like he doesn't have time to do all that, learn all that shit on top of it. Like, I don't know what people think.
Batman learned all that stuff in like 5 years, man.
I know.
So Batman can do it. Anybody can do it. Batman's a regular guy like you and me.
Maybe.
I mean, he's not. He's not at all. I'm just saying that's the line that they try to sell you. It's like, Batman's just a regular guy. Like, yeah, a regular guy that can learn everything on the planet in like a 5 year span, maybe 10.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm saying that never kill cops is bullshit.
Yeah, I was like, what? Like, I think Detective Matthews would like a word.
I think everyone would like the word. Like, clearly, you like learning Jigsaw is secondary to everything else you're doing.
Well, yeah, Detective Matthews, Detective Dizzy, Danny Glover. Yeah, I mean, like, there's so many cops that
Danny
got
Glover's
killed.
Partner.
Right. So many cops got killed.
Yes. I'll go into number of tetanus shots out of 10. I mean, is this better than probably the last? I'm looking at this right now. Maybe 4 of them. Yeah. Is it better than Saw 4? I guess is the question. I will give it 5 tetanus shots out of 10. I liked it as much as Saw 4. How about you?
I'm not gonna go that high. I did not. Again, it had some interesting points to it. It did. It was definitely better than the last couple for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just, again, I think it would have been better not a Saw movie. Yes. I don't understand they brought in Saw just to, like, dangle that, oh, look, this is, a movie from the Saw franchise. But it's really not. It's just They kind of tacked it on to another movie for whatever reason.
Right.
But yeah, I'll give it, we'll go 3.5. 3.5 tetanus shots out of 10.
So between Saw 5 and 6 for you.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so we're saying this once again. If you have not seen Saw X, go and watch it first and listen to the last half of this podcast. So spoilers ahead. And Mateo, the doggy drug dealer, why don't you go ahead and take that away for us?
Okay, so Saw X is, like we said, this went the complete opposite direction of Spiral. Spiral had no Tobin Bell. This movie has this movie has all Tobin Bell all the time. I mean, it's
probably more Tobin Bell than all the movies combined.
Correct. Absolutely correct. He's in like every scene. So anyway, so basically we are opened up to poor Tobin Bell is a cancer patient.
I want to say something right now, too. This is the most linear Saw movie you will ever see.
Yeah, there really isn't a B plot.
There's not.
It's just a plot. There's a plot. The B plot is just the second half of the A plot.
Yes.
The traditional B plot for Saw movies is just the second half.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah. So we're, poor cancer patient Tobin Bell is, going to the doctor, getting his x-rays and MRIs and all that kind of stuff. And, they're telling him, oh, you only have months to live. This is not good, bad. So he's going to cancer support groups. And anyway, there's a guy in there that also has terminal cancer.
Yep.
They don't really get along, but at least he's introduced to them and he knows it.
Right.
And so anyway, there's a scene, I guess you could kind of sort of call it a trap. I'll just call it out because we'll talk about it later. That it's kind of a dream sequence, I guess, but we'll talk about that later.
We'll discuss that in a little bit.
Right, yeah, we'll discuss that later. So he's basically coming to terms with the fact that he's going to die, but he has so much work to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically writing his will, and it shows him doing all this end of life kind of stuff. And then he goes to a cafe, and I believe he's looking through his will at the cafe.
Yes, he is.
And then the guy that he had met at the support group comes over, and, or he's ordering at the cafe, and he's
Jigsaw recognizes him.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm having such a great day. Oh, I'm going to have this blueberry scone. It looks so good. He's super, super high energy. Right. And so Jigsaw's like, what's up with that dude? And he comes over and he's like, oh, hey, what's going on? He's like, all super excited. Anyway, so he's like, yeah, I found this, special treatment that cured me, and he's like, and he lifts up his shirt and he shows this big zigzag scar going down his stomach. And he's like, that's my war wound. I went to this special doctor and
Dr. Peterson.
Yeah, they did this, magic treatment on me. And then now I'm cured. and now I feel great. Now I'm in total remission.
Right.
So that, anybody can do it. So he's like, okay, well, give me the contact info. It's like, okay, so he gives him like this website. So of course he does his like, I say research, but it's like quote unquote. He's doing like boomer research where he just
considering
goes.
This is 2005, mind you.
Right. I'm just saying he does boomer research where he just goes on a bunch of websites and sees that, that Dr. Peterson does know how to cure cancer. It's just big pharma is after him,
Yes.
So he had to go into hiding, but his daughter is still doing like secret experiments. And this website that he goes to, and he contacts Dr. Peterson, and she's like, oh yeah, I have a thing in 3 months that you can probably get in on. And he's like, she's like, oh, you're not going to live that long, are you? It's like, no, I'm not. So, okay, well, I've wanted to get into in a week, there's one last spot I can squeeze you in. Okay, great. But it's in Mexico. Because we're in hiding, so it's like in the middle of nowhere in Mexico. Like, come on down, we'll have a driver for you. We'll bring it to our secret location, and then, we'll do the treatment, and then you'll be, we have a 90% success rate or something ridiculous.
Right.
So he goes down to Mexico. He, gets driven by this like taxi driver guy who like tries to be his buddy.
Show him all the touristy spots. That's really threw human hearts down the steps.
Which is not true. But,
no, it's not.
But he showed him some like, sculpture, the Mayan sculpture. And he's like, yeah, somebody brings me down here at least once a day. So he drives them to this remote location. They kind of get like pseudo kidnapped.
Oh yeah, this is like American tourists in Mexico kidnapped situation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like guys with masks come out, and he's like, "Oh, I'm John Kramer." And it's like, "Oh, you're John Kramer? Okay, well, we're the security people for the staff because we can't be too careful because the big pharma's after us." So they bring him up to this like kind of I don't know, plantation,
hacienda.
Yeah, hacienda. This giant like castle type place. And he gets this like, nice room, and he's introduced to all the staff, and, there's like, the kind of caretaker lady who's like becomes kind of his friend.
Gabriella.
Gabriella. And he meets everybody. He meets the doctor. And then there's a nurse, that's Valentina. And then there's the anesthesiologist named Mateo, and they're all like very nice and super, great.
And you can't forget the young boy.
Oh, Carlos, the soccer player kid. So he, kind of goes in there and starts his treatment, and he meets another guy in passing who had just received his treatment before he got there. Just kind of, showing him that, he's doing really well after his, treatment. So like, he's kind of confident that he'll be good too. So he goes through his injections, whatever, that's done off screen, and then he goes in to get his surgery that's going to remove the tumor from his brain.
Right.
And so, but he has to stay awake during the surgery. So, like, they're working on the back of his head, and he's looking at the screen that shows them like cutting out, the tumor out of his brain. And they eventually like turn it away, like, oh, he doesn't want to see that. But anyway, he gets knocked out. He wakes up, and he's in this like hotel room away from the compound they were just at.
Yes.
But using his magic engineer powers, he looks at some towers in the background, and he like triangulates the position of the place where the other place was. Not for anything
sinister.
No, not for anything sinister at this point. At this point, he just wants to thank Gabriella. So he goes to buy her favorite bottle of tequila.
Which does not look like tequila. I'm throwing that out right now.
Well, that's because you've never seen Mexican tequila.
Apparently.
That's what it looks like. But anyway, so she gets this big, like a jug of tequila. It's not just a regular bottle. It's like a big old jug of tequila.
Right.
And he goes to the house to like give it to her, because he's like, oh, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. So he goes there to give it to her, and the place is completely abandoned. And he goes into the facility where he got the surgery, and it's completely abandoned. Stuff is thrown everywhere.
But still, really expensive damn machines are there.
Right. But I don't know, like, why would you knock it all over? Like, he was knocked out. It's not like you're in a rush. I don't know what
we'll get into that.
Right, yeah. I was like, I don't understand, like, why everything would be all over the place. It's pretty dumb. Anyway, so as he's, like, going through the kind of stuff thrown all over the place, he finds the screen that he was watching his surgery on, and he finds out that it's just a DVD.
Yes.
It's literally a DVD of a surgery that had been done by someone else.
It's like Neurosurgery Part 9.
Right, yeah. So it's like some random DVD, and then he takes his bandage off of his head, and he realizes that there's no scars. They never worked on his head at all.
Yeah.
So he was basically conned.
Yep.
So he learns that he was conned, and he gets very upset, and he calls up the detective and says he needs to find some people, and then he, whatever.
We don't know what detective right
now. Yeah, we don't know which one. But so he like basically gets on to what Jigsaw does, is now he's going to do revenge. So the first person he finds is the taxi driver, who was also the guy who was pretending to be the doctor.
Yep.
So he catches him because he goes to that statue where he says that, tourists take him here at least once a day. So he waits there until he finds him, gets in the cab, drugs him, and then he wakes up in a trap. I get he was tortured before that point. We don't see the torture, but he was tortured and gave him information before that point, but then was put in the trap, which he then survives.
Right. So,
but he disappears from the story at this point, though.
Yes, we'll get into his trap, but
we're not going to talk about the trap.
We're not going to anything, but he learns the information about the other people he's looking for through this taxi driver.
Right. Yeah, he gets all the information that he needs from the taxi driver. He puts the taxi driver in the trap. Taxi driver escapes, but he then leaves the story and never comes back.
Right.
So then he basically goes after the rest of the people. We find out that Mateo, the anesthesiologist, is really a veterinarian who sells drugs.
I think he's just the janitor at a vet clinic.
He was wearing the white coat. I mean, he might have been, maybe not a vet. Maybe he was like the vet pharmacist or I don't know. But
maybe
he had access to the drugs. He had to have been a doctor or something.
Right.
So whatever, the doctor, whatever, nurse, vet tech, whatever he was, he has some kind of some kind of access to animal drugs. So he is basically a like a low rent drug dealer that works out of a animal clinic. And then we find out that Gabriella is just a drug addict that's addicted to Oxy. And that she's basically begging him for drugs. He gives her drugs and she leaves. And then he gets captured in his clinic thing there. We go to a club. We see Valentina is a hooker.
Yes, she is.
At the club. And then she gets caught outside after a guy, basically she's like, okay, give me the money and we'll do the thing, right? And he was like, no, I don't want to give you money. I just want to do the thing.
No one said anything about money.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to give you money. I just want to do the thing. And so then he gets the guy. I think the guy gets killed too, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, anyway, the guy gets killed, deservedly so. And then she gets knocked out and captured. Gabriella goes into the bathroom of a bar. I think it's the same bar. I don't know.
Pretty sure it is.
She goes into the bathroom to get high, and then gets attacked and captured in the bathroom. And then we go to the big rich Dr. Peterson lady, who's in her like very fancy.
We'll discuss that house later.
Yeah, the very, very fancy house with too many windows.
It's all windows all the time.
All windows all the time with a like ridiculously powerful security system that is also completely useless. That's
the windows break with the slide screens.
Yeah, like great plan. Like I don't know what idiot built this house, but so anyway, so she ends up getting captured too. Now, what we find out at the end of that is that Jigsaw was there. He did drug her, but he was not working alone. We have the return of Amanda Shawnee Smith, looking rough, if I do say so myself. We'll go into that later. So she, they both capture everybody. They bring them back to the compound. They wake up, and in true Saw style, they are all chained down to various contraptions. So we have Gabriella, Valentina, Mateo, and Dr. Peterson are all chained to various things. I believe by their neck. At least at first.
At first, yes.
Yeah. Which, they get knocked out and that changes later. But yeah, so they're all, chained down. And then now we have Jigsaw and Amanda are now directly there. They're there the whole time. They don't leave them. Like traditionally, this is the B plot where nobody is watching. And they're just going through the games and people are watching through the cameras. No. Jigsaw is there in the control room watching it.
Personally invested.
Yeah, I mean, he goes down and talks to them like face to face, like every time. But
like even if they escape, they know who he is.
Right, yeah, like he still has to go down there and talk to them face to face. Like he is very invested in this game.
Yes, he is.
So yeah, basically we go through. So we'll talk about the traps later. So Valentina goes through her trap, she fails. She's dead. Everybody kind of freaks out. There's a bizarre scene where they use intestines as rope to get access to the lady. The Dr. Peterson uses that to get access to her phone, which was on like a wheeled cart.
Amanda took all their shit and then put it in a cart in the middle of them all.
Right. Yeah. So she uses the intestines as a rope to get access to her phone. She starts a phone call, and then Amanda comes down and immediately takes it away.
Doctor. Right. All the chains are electrified as in Saw 1.
Right. So trying to think, did the dude show up before Mateo or after?
He saw after.
Okay.
So it was just Gabriella because Amanda, it was supposed to go
yeah, because I remember Gabriella
was supposed to be Valentina, and then it was supposed to be Gabriella, but right. Amanda's like, she's a junkie. You know what that's like. You do anything for a fix. You saved me. She's not next.
Well, she's showing as much compassion as she can for Gabriella. Right. So that's why Mateo goes next. I just didn't remember if the dude showed up before Mateo or after Mateo.
After.
Okay. So essentially Mateo is next. He has his trap. He fails.
Yeah.
Then the dude shows up. This is the dude that was the guy who
Parker?
had the surgery right before Jigsaw did.
Yeah.
The throat cancer guy. He shows up and he's like banging on the door like, I'm going to get you, Dr. Peterson. You know, like, I'm going to kill all you bastards. Like, you lied to me. You know, so Jigsaw lets him in. He's got a gun. And he basically is like, oh, what's going on? And he's like, well, I came in here to get, you know, these people that tricked me. Like, you know, they conned me. Like, they didn't really do any surgery at all. Like, look at my neck. There's no surgery at all. And he was like, yeah, same thing happened to me. I get you. So he's like, okay, we're going to play a game. So he knocks him out and he chains him to a chair and he takes his gun away. And he basically tells him his point, like his game is he can't use guns.
Yes.
He just has to watch.
Yep. And he's essentially trying to recruit Parker into being a disciple.
Right. Well, yeah. That's
he
essentially
feels,
what it appears
at this point in time, it feels like he's also been severely fucked by these people.
Right. Well, you can tell Jigsaw feels like a kind of a kinship or at least like a sympathy for him. So he's like, basically don't use guns. Like just watch what happens and then you're fine. So he's like watching and not participating, but just kind of like standing around with them and watching what's going on. So then we go through Gabriella's thing. Gabriella fails. Well, no, Gabriella makes it. And basically he goes, okay, she made it through the game. We need to drive her to the hospital, right? Because she made it through. She needs to survive because she's in not good shape.
She needs medical attention.
Yeah, she's in not good shape after her game. And then the dude, Parker, I felt like to no one's surprise at all.
No.
Grabs his gun and is like, oh, ain't nobody going to the hospital.
You ain't going nowhere.
You're not going anywhere. Like he totally, basically says, oh, I'm taking over. Like this is not happening. So unlock Dr. Peterson. Oh no, they were lovers the whole time. Who saw that coming? So they lock in Jigsaw and they're about to like lock in Amanda when they hear like this noise. They're like,
Dud.
oh, what's that noise?
Dud.
Oh, it's Carlos, the soccer playing kid kicking his ball against the building. So they go get the kid and they bring the kid in and then they put the kid on the trap, which is disturbing.
Oh,
absolutely. They chain Amanda up and Amanda just has to watch. And so then like basically they go through this trap. I don't have to tell you what the trap is to tell you what happens, I guess. But anyway, they go through the trap to where it's like, it's kind of iffy whether Jigsaw or Carlos are going to survive. And then basically at the end of it, they both survive. And then basically we see that, the gun that you thought had bullets in it really didn't.
Yep.
But anyway, so as they're watching this go forward, they're like, oh, where's the money at? Like the money that, we stole from John Kramer in cash. It was in this bag. We need to go get the money. The money's up in the office. So they go up in the office, and as they grab the bag of money, door slams shut, timer goes up on the wall. Like this was their game. And so when that happens, that shuts off the trap. So that's when Jigsaw and the kid are fine. And then basically there's like a trap that happens up there to where only one of those two can survive. And so then they turn on each other immediately.
Oh yeah. There's this discussion because talking to Parker, like, she's going to stab you and burn you when she can. And they're like, when they're up in the monitoring station of the chemical plant, they're like, wait a minute. Why was there places for two people if you're the last one?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Song music.
Yeah. So essentially it's like, the flashback thing is that, yes, of course, Jigsaw knew that he was in on it. And he was the one that he could not get a hold of. He was the one that he called the detective to find. The detective could not find him.
Right, he's gonna be hard. I can't get a hold of him. You have to find him another way.
Right, yeah. So this was the way that they would hold of him. The whole thing about getting her to make a phone call was the trap to get him to show up.
Yes.
So they knew that he was going to show up because they knew she would call him because they knew they were involved. Right. So that was the whole part of the trap. And then I guess, the trap did not go. Well, I mean, the whole trap, I guess, what do you call that? Staged area was supposed to be, I guess, her and him in that final trap that was Jigsaw and Carlos. So, again, they like Jigsaw and Amanda have like a private joke at the end. They're like, well, not exactly the way we planned it.
It all worked out in the end.
Yeah, but it all worked out. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like, let's go get some ice cream. It's like, it's a very bizarre ending. So, so they knew that he was in on it. They knew that they had, either they were going to be on the, that last trap, or they were going to end up in the office trap upstairs, like either one, right?
Yes.
So I guess that was their backup plan, was the one that they actually fell for. So as he walks out, it appears that the doctor survived. And that they're bringing Gabriella to the hospital. So it appears that she also survived. And then the doctor guy / taxi driver guy survived. So there's a lot of survivors in this.
Gabrielle did not survive.
Oh, no, that's right. They squished her head. Well,
they snapped her neck.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. But yeah, so she survived her game, but she did not survive the movie.
I would argue that Dr. Peterson did not live.
Well, I mean, obviously, yes, because we'll just go into a little bit of discussion here. Is that that last trap in the office was like some kind of acidic gas. I say it's not just gas because it was clearly eating away at their skin.
But I'm going to throw this out right now. She was not affected. Only people breathing it in seemed to be infected.
Right. Yeah, but she was like, don't make me ugly.
Right.
So they were like not allowed to put any makeup on her at all. Like they did not.
Yeah. Oh, she's the Norwegian goddess, essentially, right?
So like the dude is like melting away.
Yes,
right?
He is.
Like his hands are like scabbing up and melting. His face is scabbing up and melting. She looks fine. But there's like a hole that they can stick their head through to breathe fresh air. But like the rest of their body is still submitted to like this acidic gas. So yeah, I would say they probably did not survive that. But like, it's not like Jigsaw to have something that no one can survive.
Right.
But it's very odd that he would set up a trap where it's guaranteed that someone would survive.
Considering what he puts Amanda through.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, it's just bizarre.
And the final scene, what's the post-credit scene?
And then the post-credit scene is the detective. The other guy he told him to look for was the guy.
He looks rough too.
Yeah. Yes. So it was Hoffman, and he found the guy who tricked him, the guy that was in his cancer support group. Yeah, Henry with the fake scar on his stomach, which of course he doesn't have anymore. It's fake. And so then he puts, I don't know, like I want to say like Mr. Fingers on his stomach.
Essentially, Edward Scissorhands' hand on his stomach,
and it's doing like a wiggle. I don't know what it's doing.
Let's get your war scars now,
right? Yeah,
and set up for next movie, Marvel style.
Yeah, it's like okay. So I don't know what that was all about, but
in the iconic bathroom.
Yes, in the bathroom.
Remember, we'll get to that low point relatively soon.
Okay, and so then we'll go with the traps. So the first dream trap was there was like a janitor, like orderly kid in a hospital.
Fingers.
Yeah, that was like looking through a terminal patient's like desk side drawer and was like looking at his ring and his watch, like, ooh, I should take these. And so then, like, Jigsaw sees this through, like, a window, and then he has this
flash of inspiration.
Yeah, he has this dream where he, like, hooks up the vacuum cleaners to his eye sockets.
Yep.
And then sets up, like, I don't know, what do you call this? Like,
so he saw the person who was clearly an accident in the...
He's got, like, hand traction, like, finger traction.
Yeah, like what Doctor Strange's fingers were in after he got into the car accident. It's like securing it.
Right, so it's like essentially if you hooked up finger traction to piano wires,
and then made your fingers bend backwards.
Yeah, and then like cranked them backwards to the point where they snap. That's what he does. So
on a dial that goes 1, 2, 5 for each finger.
Right. Yeah. Then
I'm gonna say this right now. Why don't you just go all the way to 5 and be done?
I don't know. That's what everybody does in all these traps. Like he gets all the way to 4. Yeah. And then he dies anyway. It's like, dude, why are you putting yourself through all that torture? I don't
know if he necessarily died. Your eyeballs being sucked out doesn't kill you.
Well, if you're left there.
I mean, yes. However, it's a dream sequence, so we don't see that.
Right. Yeah, he didn't get that far in his plan to figure out if he was going to die or what was going to happen afterwards. But that was the dream sequence one. And then basically... The orderly sees that he's watching him, and then he puts everything back and walks away. And he's like, "Good choice."
I mean, he's like fighting for life at this point in time. Not only because Tobin Bell's getting old, but
again, I don't know. I was like, is Tobin Bell really a cancer patient? Because he looks like one. He honestly looks bad in this movie. But
his eyes are always red.
Well, I'm just saying, like he looks rough in this movie.
Yeah, he does.
So, okay, now we get into the real trap. So the first real trap is the doctor / taxi driver, which he puts basically, he wires pipe bombs to his forearms, and then he duct tapes his hands shut with scalpels in them. And he has to cut the wires off of his forearms before the bombs.
I'm going to say right now are like rebar wire.
Well, yeah, they're like braided metal like cord.
Yeah.
They're not like So like you have to cut them off, and I guess they were like attached to the fucking bone. I don't know what they were attached to.
I'll say this right now. Once again, he gives people 3 minutes each trap.
Yeah, in this movie at least 3 minutes. Like okay, I mean it's still probably not possible, but it's a hell of a lot more possible than 60 seconds.
Yes.
Those are ridiculous. But anyway, so he has 3 minutes to do it, and he does do it. He cuts the bombs off. The bombs blow up. He survives.
And I will say this right now. John Kramer, why don't you help him? Like, God damn it, they know your name.
Yeah, so that was that one. And then we get to the rest of the staff. So the staff, the first one was Valentina. Now, Valentina was trapped in like a chair. She was in a sitting position, and there was like a big kind of like a bandsaw that would she had 3 minutes to finish her trap, and if it didn't finish, it would move back and cut her head off with this bandsaw.
It was essentially was it a jiggly saw but attached by her throat.
Well, it's like a wire saw. If you've ever used a wire saw to cut down a tree.
Which is what she has to use on her leg as well.
Yeah, she has to use it to cut off her own leg, and then she has to stick in a suction device and then suck out a certain amount of bone marrow. And so it goes into like this scale thing where like the bone marrow out. Right. So it sifts the marrow out. And of course, like every fucking trap in the last few movies, she literally gets to like 2.9 ounces, right? Like she's right there. and then it fails, and then she gets her head cut off anyway.
She's like, I can't do it anymore.
Right, so she sawed off her own leg, sucked out her own bone marrow, 2.9 ounces of her own bone marrow, and then still gets killed anyway.
Yeah, so now she's in 3 pieces.
Right, yeah, so her leg is off, then her head gets cuts off, and then her body flops over. And then that's the body that they use to use the intestine rope. Anyway, so then we have Mateo. Mateo gets kind of strapped into what looks like an electric chair. And then he basically, there's a camera above him, like looking down at his head, and you can see they like shaved out a chunk of his hair, and they put like a dotted line around his skull. And essentially he has to cut open his own skull and then chop out a big chunk of gray matter, put it in this like solution
that has to dissolve.
Right.
Not only, I'm saying this right now, do the traps require a weighing component?
Right. Yeah, so he has to put a big enough chunk of gray matter in this solution to like cause some kind of reaction that causes something to open up the key chamber.
Right. But once again, it has to dissolve the gray matter. And his brain is in there for at least 30 seconds, and that's not enough.
Right.
So 30 seconds of the 3 minutes is not enough.
So again, we go through the whole thing. He cuts his own skull open.
With essentially a wizard.
Yeah, right.
With like a wizard.
Right. He cuts a huge chunk of his brain out, puts it in the thing, and then dies anyway.
Yep.
It's like, what is going on? Like, what's the point? Like, if I was the guy with the pipe bombs on my arms, I would just hold the pipe bombs up to my head. Like, just kill me.
Right.
I don't want to, it'll be a long 3-minute wait, but you know what? At least I know it's going to end.
Right.
But yeah, so he gets electrocuted and gets killed because he doesn't dissolve his brain in time.
And essentially he gets the Aztec god mask over his face as a final.
Right. Yeah.
Which not the guy to do it to.
Right.
I'll get to that later.
And then okay, so then we have Gabriella. Gabriella gets dragged up into the air. So she has one chain on one arm and one chain on one leg. So she's like, held taut and hanging in the air. And then they like, I guess, overpowered an X-ray machine.
Okay,
to like shoot radiation.
They took the X-ray machine that was there to irradiate her, and she has to sledgehammer her own foot out and her whole hand out.
Right.
And during all this entire process, Dr. Peterson, which is clearly an actual doctor, is telling people when to do things and how to do things and explain what they have to do.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, again, she's thinking, she's showing that she's thinking clearly and that she actually does have medical skills.
Yes.
So, yeah. I mean, again, she tells her clearly, no, she was going to hit her hand first. And she's like, no, do your foot first. Because you'll swing out of the way.
No, she was going to do her foot first.
No.
And then she said to do your hand. No, she did her hand. No, you're right. You're right.
I know. Right.
Yes.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm saying the way it should have been done.
Oh, yeah. This should have been done is if you hit your hand, you'd go on the ground.
Where that's not
going to reach. Hide somewhere.
Where it's not going to reach.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah. But the lady clearly told her, no, do your leg first. You'll swing out of the way. And she does. She, breaks her own foot. It falls out of the chain and she swings over and gets out of the way. And then the thing turns anyway.
Yes.
So clearly they thought of that. So then she bangs on her own hand and she does get out of the trap. And then that's when he goes, okay, get her to the hospital. Like, she survived her game. She's in really bad shape. She needs to get to the hospital. And that's when, the guy goes, nope, ain't nobody going to the hospital. He comes down with his gun. And then Jigsaw gets strapped into what is like, I'm going to call the waterboarding seesaw.
Yes. The bloodboarding seesaw.
Right. So, like, yeah, Tobin Bell goes on one side, little Carlos goes on the other side, and there's like a lever on each side. And so, like, if you pull the lever, then you go down, and then you get waterboarded by this blood, like, faucet.
Yeah.
And then if the other person pulls their lever, then it goes the other way. I'm not quite sure. It looks like they're both connected to the same kind of tension.
Yeah.
Because, like, if he pulls it back, it does, like, pull back on the other side, too. So
yes.
anyway, so they kind of go back and forth enough for long enough to where they both get waterboarded, but they don't die. And they do that for long enough to where they go up into that office and get locked in. And then that's when it shuts down that trap.
Yeah.
So then that's when, of course, Carlos and Jigsaw both survive. And then the trap up there was, they trapped in there. They had 10 minutes. And it was like this gas came out, this acidic gas that started eating, like I said, eating through the dude's skin immediately. And she never had any blemishes or anything. It stuck her head, and they had a fight, and she basically killed her boyfriend guy. And then, but she was sticking her head out and breathing. But again, like if it was that acidic gas, it would have eaten the rest of her body away. So I don't know if she survived or what, but technically she would have survived her game.
Yes. And then the post-credit scenes, Henry and
with the
Edward Scissorhands,
with the
stomach.
Mr. Fingers on his stomach or whatever the hell that was. So we're on high points. So you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay, so I mean, what are the high points? Jigsaw is back, right? I mean, Now we got all Jigsaw all the time. Amanda's back. That's fun, right? Hoffman's back. I mean, everybody's back. We just need the other, 3 people that were apprentices at the same time to come back, and then we'll have a whole family together. It's like, technically, they were all together at one point in time, right?
Absolutely.
Because it was Jigsaw, it was Amanda, it was Hoffman, it was
Dr. Gordon.
Dr. Gordon, it was the guy from Saw 7.
Saw 3D.
No.
Yeah.
Jigsaw. I'm sorry. Yeah, the guy from Jigsaw. The coroner guy.
Yes.
He would have been there at the same time.
Yes. Whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I think it was, Connor or Blake or whatever the fuck it was.
I don't know. Trevor. I have no idea. One of those rich guy names.
Yeah.
But it was, So there was 6? I think 6 total people that would have been like Jigsaw's apprentices all at the same time. So yeah, maybe the next movie we'll get them all come back.
Maybe
we'll have a Jigsaw Justice League.
Oh man, it's going to be the survivors versus the Jigsaw disciples.
See, there you go. It'll be like Survivor.
Yes, I like it.
But yeah, no, I mean, but that's fun, right? All that stuff is good. I mean, this one felt very, very personal. I mean, this is really the only one where Tobin Bell was literally there the whole time, like physically watching it, and
I'm gonna watch you die, fuckers.
Right, and he wanted those people to fucking know he was there. He didn't do that peeping through a hole in the wall thing. No, he was like, I am right here. Yeah, I'm behind a window, but I am right here.
Yes.
And I thought that was an interesting kind of twist, at least for this story. I mean, the con, it was a good con, right?
Oh yeah.
the con was very skillful. I mean, yeah, they got away with it. I mean, for a little bit. Yeah. But I mean, it was a good con. That's what I got. What do you got?
It's interesting with the amount of backstory that we have for Jigsaw. You don't feel bad at all for these people, because not only Jigsaw they fucked with, it says 32 other people that if you want to humanize Jigsaw, this was the movie to do it. They humanize him beyond shit. Okay, I might do this too, type scenario. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some people that you feel kind of bad for. I mean, Gabriella, you feel kind of bad for. Mateo, you feel bad for. Valentina comes off as pretty cold, but you still feel bad for her.
Dr. Peterson.
Yeah, Dr. Peterson, not so much. She's just a bitch.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But it's hard to humanize a person. Now, I'd say 10 movies, but he's only in 9.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, the last one he wasn't in at all. It was still pictures of him. And that's it.
Right. And in the first one, he's literally on the floor. So essentially, Tobin Bell, hey, we're gonna hire you to lay on the floor for 2 hours. Great, that's your first movie. And now here we are, 18 years later. Okay, now you get an entire movie.
Well, yeah, but at least it was his voice on the tapes too.
Yes.
I mean, at least he did some more. I read an article the other day that when he was doing the first movie, nobody would eat lunch with him.
Yeah.
Because everybody was like, "You're gross looking. I don't want to eat lunch with you."
And he seems like, and Tobin seems like a really awesome and nice guy.
Oh, he does. He really, yeah. I mean, but yeah, that Saw was his breakthrough role at what, like 60, whatever he was.
60,
right.
60, yeah. So I said I thought it was great that they, we have different opinions sometimes on the backstory, on the lore, and despite this being Saw 1.5, I don't feel it took away anything from the movies.
No, it didn't. I mean, it was, it went far enough away to where it was fine. Again, I think they did an okay job with Amanda being in like the kind of intermediate state that she was in there. Because like this is very clearly happens between 1 and 2.
Yes.
So yeah, like in 2, I think that whole house thing really like galvanized her to be the tough one. And I think I think it put her too far, which is why we had her being like basically like evil in 3.
Right. And I think they did I think they humanized John Kramer really, really well. Like you felt for him. Like there's even scenes of him like, I have a new lease in life, and like he's clearly drawing the crucifixion machine for 3, and he tears it up. He's like, I don't need to do this. Right. You know what I mean? Now obviously we know where this is going, and that's kind of the problem.
Yeah, but also the point is like at this point, because he's obviously very far along in his cancer. Yeah. So at this point, according to the canon and these other movies in the franchise, he's already killed like, 50, 60 people.
Yeah.
So you think about what if you just go by the first movie, it's like what, a couple of people, right?
Like 3 people.
Right. But if you go by the canon with how many survivors there are and stuff like that, like, he's killed probably at least 50 or 60 people at least.
Yeah. And I think they did, I think they did a good job, like showing more of the emotion that Amanda would have had with Jigsaw. Like, I can't do this by myself. I can't do without your guidance. And I think it was honestly a good return to form that we really haven't had from the franchise in the last 4 or 5 movies. Because Hoffman really wasn't a good disciple of Jigsaw.
No, but I don't think he was trying. I don't think they were even trying to make him good.
Yeah,
like he was just a darker, he would set up machines, but they were just to kill people. Like you weren't supposed to survive. You were just supposed to die.
Right. So I'm like, and I like the fact that while it being between 1 and 2, they really didn't. They rolled with all the retcons that already happened. It didn't really retcon anything else, which is amazing.
Well, they basically just was like, okay, let's go at a point in time where it doesn't matter.
Right.
And let's go to a different section of the world where it doesn't matter and then tell our story there.
And I think they did that well enough to be able to do that.
Right.
Because they could just throw in, here's 10 more disciples. And I'm like, what the hell? So I think the storytelling aspect of it was good enough. Those are my highlights. Do you want me to roll into my low points?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. Number 1. Fuck you and your dream sequence trap that is the poster for the entire movie.
Yeah, like why did they, because again, at this point in the franchise, he's already killed 50 or 60 people. What's the harm of just showing him killing someone else?
Yes.
I guess again, they're trying to humanize him.
Yes.
So they do want to show a trap right away, but they're like, oh, we can't actually have him kill anybody because then he'll be like, oh, he's a bad guy, he murders people.
Right. But that is the marketing material for the movie. The posters is this dream sequence trap.
Yep.
Okay. So that's biggest complaint right off the bat. I guess, in my mind, I guess they focused on the statue of the Aztec deity where they throw down the heart of it. You think they're like, to me in my head, I was watching like, they're going to have someone that has to throw their heart down those stairs.
Well, you can't survive with your heart out of your body.
I know. I know. I just is alluding to more of the statue being correlated to the taxi driver than to Mateo, because that's something he visits and like idolizes.
He's just putting a Latin flair on his traps. That's all he's doing.
I know.
That's all he's doing.
The fact that they have all this. Okay, so they got, let's say, $250,000 from Jigsaw. You don't leave this radiation, this X-ray machine lying there from place to place you go.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, why did they trash the place?
They have fuck you money.
Right.
Don't
like,
need to.
Why is everything like thrown all over the place? Just leave. Just walk away. Nothing needs to be knocked over and shit.
Right. And if Dr. Peterson is packing up and going somewhere else, she has a stupid nice house.
Well, again, what do they say? Don't shit where you eat, right?
I know.
Why the hell is she doing this shit so close to her own house?
Right.
Like, go live in Norway. What are you doing? You're living within walking distance of the place where you're conning people.
Yes. That annoyed the crap out of me too. And I have two major complaints about two of the traps. Gabriella's is, if she did her hand first, she would have fallen to the floor and could get out of the way of the machine, because there's no way it's going to go all the way to the floor and be movable, scraping across the floor. Her trap was easily more survivable than anything else.
Well, yeah, if you don't drop the hammer.
Right.
I mean, what is the likelihood of you dropping a hammer, smashing your own limbs, hanging in the air?
I know.
Like, pretty I would have dropped it immediately. Yes. I would have swung once. Shit. I'm dead.
Right. And I'm up in the air if Valentina's was necessary to cut off her leg completely. I feel like she just could have sawed down into the bone.
But like flip-topped it up?
Yes, if it cuts through bone, you could have just cut a chunk out of your leg.
You're also, but like, you'll be thinking logically as you're cutting halfway through your leg. No. You're not going to be thinking logically.
I know. And, poor Tobin Bell. He did great in the movie, but stop dragging that man back. Just let him do voice recording.
No, dude, it's fine bringing Tobin Bell back, but man, they made him work in this movie.
Yeah, they did.
Like, dude's 80 years old, man. He doesn't need to be doing traps and shit.
Right.
Like, just bring him back, let him do the voice, Like Doug Bradley. He doesn't want he'll do the voice, but he doesn't want to do any physical acting anymore. I don't blame him. He's done his time.
Yes.
Tobin Bell's done his time. Let him do a scene sitting down. He doesn't have to be up doing the fucking traps and shit. Dear God.
I know. You felt bad for him.
I know. I was like, dude's 80 years old. What are you doing?
Yeah. Those are my... Oh, and sorry. If this takes place between Saw 1 and 2, we have already discussed it before. The number of bodies is incorrect in that. Yeah.
Oh, in the bathroom? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. How many did they show in the bathroom this time?
1. There should have been 2. And when they went back to the bathroom with Hoffman, there should have been 4.
Right, yeah.
3.
Yeah, well, because that should have been Adam and Zeb.
And the bro, at least. And there's probably one.
Bro was in 2. So if this happened at 1.5,
I'm saying in when Hoffman at the end of Saw 3D was on there. Yeah, they can keep the bathroom set, and they've gone on record saying the bathroom set hasn't changed. It's still the same set. They never struck it. But keep the number, if you're going to go in between timelines, keep the number of bodies consistent and on par. It's not that hard. We can keep track of it. Surely you can't.
Right, yeah. You got continuity, guys.
Yeah. All right. Those are my low points. What are your low points?
I would say like there's too much Jigsaw in this movie. Like too much. Like he's in every scene. It's like, dude, like, okay, like it would have been much better if like he was in the control room, like watching them, but it wasn't like interacting with them. I think that would have been better. You know what I mean? Like, just let them go through the trap as they normally do in the B plot.
Yep.
And that he would be watching it, but like, just let it happen. But he was like down there talking to him after like every trap. He was like down there explaining things and shit. Like, dude, you already have the tape players and everything.
You remind me of one more low point. I'll wait.
Well, okay. There's a lot that I have about the tape players is they seem to misunderstand how the tape players work. You press the play button and it plays. You don't have to hold it down.
Yes.
But the way that they do it in this movie, and I believe they've done it before. I don't know what other movie they did it. But...
Well, I'll give you your point because they're very violent with the pressing of the buttons.
Yeah, they press the button, and like Gabriella does it twice. She presses the button, and then she's like, "Oh, I don't like it," and then she doesn't hit stop or anything. She just tosses it away.
Mateo does it 3 times.
Yeah, it would still play.
Yes.
You pressed play. You did not press stop. We've seen the same player in 9 other fucking movies. We know how it works.
Yes.
Like, just press the play button. It will play regardless if you toss it away or not. But yeah, Gabriella never even got her instructions.
Nope.
She just had to learn it. She went along.
She goes, nope.
Yeah. Nope. Like, it's not going to stop it from happening. And he straight up told her that. He's like, yeah, it's not going to work. You can't just throw it away and get out of the game. Like, it's going to happen whether you listen to it or not. I would listen to it. He's like, nope. He's like, all right, string her up. But yeah, so I would say it's like too much Jigsaw. Now, Tobin Bell looked like a cancer patient in this movie.
Yes.
Like, I was like, seriously, I had to look it up after the movie. Like, does he actually have cancer? Because he looks like he does. He looks bad. He does not, as far as I know. He's old, but he's fine.
Right.
But I mean, Amanda comes back like what, 20 years later, whatever it is, and she looks 20 years older. Like, you know, like her neck is giving away her age. She aged 20 years in the month it's been since the first movie.
Yeah.
It's supposed to have been like a month from the first movie or something, but yeah, she does not look great. Yeah, I mean, like Hoffman, you know, looks like he, I don't know, stopped at Dunkin' Donuts one too many times and let his hair grow out at the end of the movie. Like, they're very obviously like not in the same time frame.
Correct.
But yeah, no, that's it. Everybody looks pretty rough.
All right, so I'll circle back to my last low point I forgot about.
Sure, go ahead.
Dr. Peterson says, "I know you're Jigsaw," and still went through with it. This is the same complaint we had with Boondock Saints. Is you're saying you're an active serial killer's trap, and you weren't, and he puts people that lie into traps. She goes, "I know you're Jigsaw, and I still put you through this." Like, come on. That's
Did
stupid.
she say that, or did she say that she knows who he is now?
She said doing research on him, she knew that he was Jigsaw.
How?
I don't know. And if she did, she's an idiot.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like,
if you know it's Jigsaw, take his money and then kill him.
Right, yeah, exactly. Just like put him to sleep and then never let him wake up.
Right. He goes, "Hey, I'm gonna get the second you tomorrow morning you get the second half of my wire payment." Fine. Fucking kill him. So I'm the outsmart Jigsaw.
Well, again, that's why you should not live in the same city that you fucking con people in.
Yes.
Dumbass.
So I forgot about that until we were discussing this. Like, I forgot that point. Like, that really annoyed the shit out of me. Like, I'm the outsmart Jigsaw. Like, no.
Well,
no, you're not.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if as arrogant as she was, right? Maybe you would. I mean, you the level of, that's what they call them, con men, right?
Yeah.
The level of confidence that they have is crazy high. That's how they're able to convince people to do shit. So, like, their confidence saying, like, I could get rid of I can cheat Jigsaw, and then I'll have a good story for later.
Right.
No doubt.
It reminds me of, like, the villains, like How I Killed Batman, like all sitting at the table, like How I Killed Batman or How I Would Kill Batman. No, you're not. No, you're not. It's just. All right, so why don't you go first? How many tetanus shots out of 10 do you give this movie?
I don't know. It's rough. It's like, I think it's better than Spiral, right? At least it's more faithful.
Yes.
I don't know. All right, 5. 5 tetanus shots out of 10.
5 tetanus shots out of 10. Tough one.
There's less things that piss me off in this movie than there is in the other ones. How about that?
Oh, I mean, I completely agree with that. So you are tied with Saw 4, and I personally think this is better than Saw 4. Not by much, though. I gave Saw 4 5, so I will go 5.75 tetanus shots out of 10. It was interesting enough. It felt like, as we've done these franchises, the return to form, if you will. I know I can see me. I'm doing air quotes as I say that. Kind of like Hellraiser. What was that? 10 or 11 felt like a return to form. Like, this might have been like the kick in the franchise that's needed, but maybe too little, too late.
Like I said, I think they need to make a Saw movie where all of the Saw apprentices come back. All of them.
Yes.
So we need Jigsaw. We need Amanda. We need Hoffman. We need Dr. Gordon. We need the guy from Saw Final
Connor,
Chapter.
Trevor, Blake, whatever.
Right.
We need Jill. White guy jock.
Right. Yeah. Jill was involved, right?
Yes.
She was there. I mean, we need all these people together.
Zeke's partner from Spiral.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
He's alive, right? Yeah.
Versus.
All these people. Right. The entire support group from Saw, what was that, 6?
7. Now, there's 13, we know, but, we know 2 of them. One of them is on Jigsaw's team. One of them's dead, maybe. Maybe he's dead. We don't know if he's dead.
I don't know. I don't know.
We don't know if Boondock Saints is dead.
They need to all team up. There needs to be they need to kill I don't know, a mercenary army in Africa or something. They need to all team up.
What you're saying is
they need to do traps like jungle traps, like Rambo 2.
So what happens is they first start fighting off against each other, and then they find a common enemy to team up and take out the greater evil.
Well, yeah, they see a Discovery Channel special on ethnic cleansing in Africa. And they decide to hey, these are the people that need to be tested, right?
Yes.
So then they all go to Africa and they attack everybody all at once.
You go. I like it. and I will say this movie that Saw X was, they're getting a little not so tongue in cheek. Clearly this was against Big Pharma. This movie was.
Oh yeah, there was definitely parts of it. Yeah,
agenda. Yeah.
This one goes hand in hand with 6. Is that the insurance one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah, we need to put more real life atrocities into it to go, hey, we need to do this satire of it. There you go. Saw versus The Purge.
I don't know. I'm just saying. There's enough. They have enough of them for a team now. So we need some kind of interesting thing for the team.
All right. Anything else to say about the Saw franchise before we hopefully forget about it for the next 2 to 3 years?
Nope.
Okay. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. So, we survived all of Jigsaw's tests, but now we need a support group to help us get past this franchise. So, time to dust off our VCRs, rewind the tapes, and make sure tracking is enabled. Because guess what? It's time for the VHS franchise with VHS 85 that just came out, I think, 2 weeks ago at the time of recording.
Yeah, but I think it was very, very beginning of October.
Yes. So, we are doing kind of a first of a revisit of franchise that we've done. And since then, we decided to include Siren, which is the spin-off of, was that VHS number 2? I believe.
I think it was the first one.
Was it the first one?
I think Siren was in the first one.
Oh, wow. And then I can only assume to be the best movie ever, Kids versus Aliens.
That one's in the second one, I think. Or no, is that no,
third?
Third one.
I think it was viral.
Yeah. No. Well, I don't know. It wasn't the first one. That's all I remember.
I think it was the third one because the third one was atrocious, which is viral. So we'll be doing VHS 85, Siren, and Kids versus Aliens. So there'll be spoiler warnings ahead for that for the next recording. So remember, we watch bad movies, so you don't have to, and we know that you still watch them because if you're like me, you love bad movies. And if you're like Salem, you hate the everything crap.
I hate cheesy movies. There's bad movies that I like. I hate cheesy movies that are deliberately cheesy because they think they're great. Those piss me off.
Right. So in the meantime, this has been Graveyard saying, have you checked on the children?
This is Salem saying, long live the new flesh.
Good night.